Hey, good morning, Duck fans. How do you guys like my Washington National Championship shirt? Oh, never mind. Ha! Not wearing one. Unfortunately, they're sending those overseas to underprivileged children, I imagine, at this time, which is a great use of those, by the way. Let's talk Oregon first. Monday, Oregon landed a commitment from Kam Alexander, UTSA cornerback. Really great pickup, kind of under the radar. I think the Ducks did a great job kind of keeping him under wraps. Washington had offered. I don't know that he had a ton going on in his recruitment, and I think that's a really good thing for Oregon if you're wanting to be able to get those kind of guys and get a fair price from NIL for them. I think that's the way to go. Alexander graded out incredibly high with PFF. Whether you love or hate those rankings, it's at least a barometer of some kind to say, hey, this guy's legit. A lot of pass deflections, so uh, great pickup. I think that was a position of need for Oregon. Now you're looking at Jaleel Florence and Dante Manning and Dalen Austin and adding Kam Alexander. You're looking at a really strong rotation there at cornerback, at least for Oregon. I thought it was pretty cool to have Dan Lanning on talking a lot about the national championship halftime before the game. He did a great job. Got a front row seat to see what two national championship teams look like. Although I'm pretty confident he already knows what that looks like, at least from Georgia. Um, you know, just great to have that. As for the Natty itself, I guess quick thoughts. Trying to be completely unbiased, and don't get me wrong, the stuff I've seen on Twitter, the stuff on Facebook has been hilarious. I know Duck fan, the response from Duck fans is even bigger and better than I anticipated. Like I knew Duck fans would be happy that Michigan won, but like the response has been even better than that. So, anyways, as I'm reading through those, Michigan, their front four was able to generate a lot of pressure without too many bodies, able to keep guys back and generate pressure. That kept Michael Penix off all night. Penix never got into a rhythm. That was I don't want to say that was the worst game I'd seen him play, but probably out of the last 3, 4, 5 games, that was the worst game he's played. Statistically, it was one of his worst games all season. You could tell he was uncomfortable. You could tell he couldn't get into a rhythm. He couldn't find Romeo Dunze. He couldn't find those guys like he normally does. The two games he played against Oregon, he could have dropped a football through a needle hole, but last night he couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. So, you know what? I would say part of that's probably nerves. Part of that's not being there before. Part of that was because of what Michigan did defensively. They did a tremendous job communicating in the back end. Their safeties were rarely out of position. The one time I can think of was when Romeo Dunze was wide open, and I don't know how tall Michael Penix thought he was, but he missed him by a good 4 or 5 yards above his head, which is hard to do. But otherwise, their secondary was great. Their cornerbacks were really good. Their safeties were really good, but they generated so much pressure up front without bringing too many guys. That's where the game was won. That's what Oregon's going to have to do. I mean, don't get me wrong, that was an elite offense that Oregon might not face again because going through the big now, unless Washington rebuilds, they've got a lot of work to do to replace those guys. And I'm not picking on them, but Michael Penix, Odunze, McMillan, Jalen Polk, those are some really good football players on the offensive side of the ball. So a lot of work for Kalen DeBoer to do there, assuming he's at Washington next year. Who knows? We got some coaching carousel stuff heating up. Was that Harbaugh's last game? Is he off to the NFL? Did they just give it to Sharon Moore? People are saying that's Kalen DeBoer's dream job, Michigan. I don't know. College football drama always delivers, so I'm here for it. Last thing I'll wrap up, Oregon's getting a lot of preseason love. Top 10 nearly across the board. I'm seeing number 2, number 3, number 4 consistently, and it's all over the place. It's not just Fox. It's not just ESPN. It's not just West Coast guys. You're seeing a ton of love for the Ducks in the way too early, preseason rankings. So looks like things should be restored next year. Hopefully the Ducks can get that win against Kalen DeBoer and navigate what will be a very interesting first season through the big. All right, guys, that's all for today. I'll be back. We'll talk some Oregon hoops and recruiting on the next one.